Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, Simone here. So today I'm going to be filming a video about popular books that I haven't read yet. I went on to Goodreads and I basically looked up books that lots of people have favourited, and I've picked the ones to talk to you about that I haven't read yet. Basically, I have chosen to not include books that I've started a series and the further books in that series are on the list, just because I haven't got to them yet. That doesn't mean I'm not going to, and I've already started them, but I've just decided to talk about the books where I've either not started the series at all or I've not read them if they're a standalone. So the first popular book that I haven't read yet is A Thousand Splendid Suns by Khaled Hosseini, who is the author of The Kite Runner, which I've also not read yet. I feel like I need to read these really soon. I don't know too much about this. It's got something to do with the Taliban. I've never read a book about the Taliban before that I'm aware of anyway, and I really think it's important for me to start reading a lot more books from different places and different cultures and that completely different people to me. And like I say, I've never read a book with Arabic main characters before, and I've only heard amazing things about Khaled Hosseini's writing in general, so really wanting to read this one quite soon. And yeah, I'm just really looking forward to picking up some of the books. Up next is one I'm actually planning on reading very soon, and that is The Selection by Kira Cass. Now, I've heard that this book is, I think some people love it and some people hate it. This is supposed to be quite like a fluffy book. It's not really groundbreaking and there's not much to it, but apparently if you love it, you love it, but not for its kind of intensity. It's more for its like charming abilities and things. So this follows a girl named America Singer, strange name I know, who is going to take part in a competition to win the prince's heart. And I've heard that this is a mixture between The Bachelor and The Hunger Games, which interests me because I always find The Bachelor to be one of those like guilty pleasure things that you shouldn't like but you still kind of do. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to diving into this series. I have reservations about it, but I also think this could be just a bit of fun and one of those light reads that doesn't take very long and just kind of makes you root for the main character. So I don't know, we'll see how I feel about this. I think there's 3 books in this series. So it's The Selection, The Elite, and then The One, and then I believe there's also like a spin-off series like The Crown and something else, and I'm not sure, but anyway, I'm going to start with the first one and see how I feel about it and then decide whether I want to read more or not. The next book is The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath, and I have not read any Sylvia Plath books before, but I've only ever heard amazing things. She's meant to be a really talented author and has written a lot of kind of hard-hitting books. I think this one is one of those books that I want to read, but I'm also quite scared to read. I have documented in videos before my mental health struggles, and this book basically follows a woman called Esther Greenwood who is falling into a nervous breakdown and she's becoming insane, and it follows her path to insanity, I believe. Now, I don't know much else about this book, but I'm scared to read it because I'm scared of how it's going to make me feel and if it's going to give me those feelings that I have previously felt. I had a nervous breakdown in kind of 2015, 2016, I can't really remember when it was, and again, it was one of the most horrible experiences of my life. So I don't know if I'm quite ready to read this book yet. I will read it in the future at some point. I might start with some other Sylvia Plath books though, so if you've got any recommendations that are slightly less on that route of things, then let me know, because I do really want to read her books. I'm just not sure whether or not I'm up for that one just yet. Up next is a book that I really want to read, and I've actually seen the film of this and it's one of my favourite films of all time, and that is Memoirs of a Geisha by Arthur Golden. And this, if you don't know what a geisha is, it's a Japanese woman who, I think, I'm not entirely sure, like completely understand, like I understand what a geisha is, but at least in this book it's about girls having their virginities auctioned off, and it's about these geisha women having to keep the interest of men, and it's a really strange concept to me. It's not something I've ever come across before. It's really harrowing, and I remember watching it and it just really kind of upsets me. But this film at least was amazing. It was very, very hard hitting, like I said, but it was really, really interesting and like completely like enthralling. I found it to be fascinating, and I really, really do want to read the book of it. I think it's one of those books that I kind of get from it that the book will be better than the film. I think the film was amazing, don't get me wrong, but I always think that in those types of books there can be more detail in the book, and it's more interesting and more fascinating. And I love the idea of learning more about a part of the Japanese culture, because again, as I said earlier, I'd like to read more books about people different to myself, different cultures, different races, different backgrounds, different sexualities. So I really, really want recommendations from people, so please do pass them on to me. I'm definitely always open to hearing about them. But yeah, I really, really want to read Memoirs of a Geisha, or is it Geisha? I'm not sure how you pronounce it. But yeah, it's definitely on my list. Next up is a book that I've heard a lot of people talk about. If you follow Sasha from A Book Utopia, this is like her favourite book of all time, and because I've been watching her videos for years now, I still haven't read it, and I don't know why this is, because it sounds really interesting. And that is Cross Stitch by Diana Gabaldon, or as most people know, Outlander. Cross Stitch is what it was published as in the UK. This book is huge though. This is 850 pages, and it's really like a small compact book, but like writing in it's really, really small. This follows Claire Randall, who in 1945 finds herself transported back to 1743 into the middle of the Scottish Highlands, and kind of the feuds going on and the wars going on, the battles, and she has a husband where she lives in 1945, but she starts to fall for this guy in 1743, and yeah, I don't know anything really else about it. I really want to read it though. I love historical fiction anyway. I love a bit of romance in books, and I feel like this has got that in spades. I know some people have a problem with this book, but I just feel like I'm going to really enjoy it. And Sasha's talked so highly about it that she's really sold it to me. So yeah, hopefully I really like this one, and I can definitely read it very, very soon. Up next is a book I actually bought in a charity shop for very, very cheaply, and I didn't really know too much about it. And I still don't really know that much about it, but lots of people have talked about it, and it's a lot of people's favourite book, so I figured I should probably read it at some point. And that is Beautiful Disaster by Jamie Maguire. So I'm just going to really quickly read the back to you, because I don't really know how to explain this. So this says, Abby Abernathy doesn't drink or swear, and she works hard. Abby believes she has buried her dark past, but when she arrives at college, her dreams of a new beginning are quickly challenged by the university's walking one-night stand. Travis Maddox, sexy, built and covered in tattoos, is exactly what Abby needs and wants to avoid. He spends his nights winning money in a floating fight club, and his days as the notorious college Lothario. Intrigued by Abby's resistance to his charms, Travis tricks her into his life with a simple bet. If he loses, he must remain celibate for a month. If Abby loses, she must live in Travis's apartment for the same amount of time. Either way, Travis has no idea that he has met his match, or that this is the start of an obsessive, intense relationship that will lead them both into unimaginable territory. And a lot of people have been saying that this is kind of up there with Twilight and 50 Shades of Grey. Now, I know again people have problems with both of those book series, but I personally really enjoyed them. I feel like this could be really interesting. It's meant to be a really intense book, but I don't know, I just feel like this might be something I enjoy reading. And again, I don't think it's going to be a difficult read in terms of like the language and things. At least that's kind of my impression that I get from it. And sometimes I just like reading something like this. So yeah, really looking forward to this. Hoping I get to it soon. Next up is American Gods by Neil Gaiman. And to be honest, I just really want to read a Neil Gaiman book. I haven't read a single one of his books, and I just need to get to it. This one I don't know very much about. I feel like I really want to go into these kind of books blind, but all I do know is that the main character's wife dies, I believe, in a car accident, and then he goes on a plane and meets somebody who says he's like a former god or something, and it's got something to do with the soul of America. That's about as much as I know. I don't really, like I said, I don't want to know anything else because I feel like I really want to go into this blind. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to reading this book. I can't wait to read more Neil Gaiman. I think I've read like one thing by Neil Gaiman, and now I can't think what it was. Or have I just not read anything by him? That's probably more like it. Yeah, so really want to read that one very, very soon too. Next up is another book which I've heard a lot of people talk about, but I still don't know anything about it really, apart from that everyone says you should read it. And that is Slaughterhouse 5 by Kurt Vonnegut. I've heard of Kurt Vonnegut's writing and I've heard that it's absolutely amazing. And as far as I know, this follows the infamous Dresden bombing, and I don't, like I said, don't know anything more than that. I just know that this is supposed to be fantastic. I think it's been cited as like one of the top 100 books of all time, which I think is a massive, massive like comment to make. Yeah, really, really looking forward to this. Cannot wait to read it. Next up is one I'm quite surprised to see on this list because I've not heard very positive things about the books. Or the film really, to be honest with you. And that is The Maze Runner by James Dashner. I want to read this because it's a dystopian, and it's one of those ones which a lot of people kind of cite as one of the early dystopians. However, in the unpopular opinions book tag, pretty much everybody that I've seen do that tag has said that the book, it's one of those, the film is actually better than the book, and because the book's not great. And I kind of want to make up my own mind. This basically, as far as I know, follows a world where these boys, every day the doors of this lift crank open and leave him, or the main character in this, Thomas, and a load of other boys in this big maze, and none of them know anything other than their first names. They don't know why they're there, they don't understand kind of what's going on, they don't know anything else. And every day the same thing happens, and every day they fight to try and find out what's going on. Now I'm not sure if every day they don't know what happened the day before, or if it's one of those things that the same thing happens every day. I don't know. I really like this kind of dystopian book, so I am interested in reading this. I know, like I said, a lot of people are not a big fan, but this is one of the most favourited books on Goodreads, so people do like it, it's just not the people I've watched talk about it. And then finally, the last book is has a bit of a personal meaning to me, and that is Gone with the Wind by Margaret Mitchell. Now, I have never read this book and I don't really know the storyline. As far as I know, this follows Scarlett O'Hara, who is a well-to-do young girl in the American Civil War, and she then has to kind of scrape her life back from poverty after they go through something. I'm not entirely sure what it is that causes them to be in poverty, but then she's got to go and sort it out. And I feel like Gone with the Wind is one of those stories that everybody has heard of, whether or not you know what the story is, but you know the name of Gone with the Wind. And I have grown up with this anecdote in my family that basically my great nan went into labour while she was watching Gone with the Wind at the cinema, and that's how my granddad was born to Gone with the Wind. And something about this just really makes me smile. Unfortunately, my great nan passed away in December, so I feel like I really want to read this just to not be closer to her, because I don't know, it's not really one of those things, but just something that I feel like will kind of make me happy. And I feel like it's something then I will have seen and read the book of a story that she knew. And I know it's probably clutching at straws quite a bit, but yeah, I do love my great nan a lot, and yeah, I'm quite devastated. But moving on from that, I just think that reading that book would just be really, really lovely for me. And again, like I said, I've grown up with this anecdote, which is just really kind of, it's always been there in my family, like everyone kind of has talked about it, and it's just one of those like funny little stories that every family's got, and that's just one of mine. So yeah, I really, really want to read Gone with the Wind at some point. So that is my 10 popular books I haven't read yet video. I have pre-filmed this video because I'm actually on holiday at the time of this video, so I hope that you've liked this video. I don't want to miss any uploads, so hopefully they shall all be going out as scheduled, even though I'm away. And let me know if there's any videos you want me to do in the future, and what popular books have you not read and are you interested in reading them. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time, guys. Bye!